in the country that day. The weekend of July 21st through the 23rd, it generated $10.6 million. It was the number 2 movie in America for that 3-day period, right behind Apollo 13, and immediately was branded as one of the summer's most unexpected triumphs. In the midst of a summer of mostly desultory films, along came Clueless, said a New York Times piece that ran the Monday after that strong debut, confirming in print that it had emerged as a sleeper hit of the summer. The movie went on to earn $56.6 million in the U.S. and Canada, a figure that Hollywood data tracking site Box Office Mojo equates to $105.7 million in contemporary inflated dollars. That's a nice return for a film whose production budget landed in the $13 million range. Reviews were positive as well. Heckerling walks a fine line between satire and put-on, but she finds it, and her dialogue could be anthologized, wrote Roger Ebert. New York Magazine critic David Denby proclaimed it a comedy of goodness that made the nastiness of a smart teen movie like Heathers seem like a failure of imagination. In the New York Times, Janet Maslin called the movie as eye-catching and cheery as its star. More importantly, Clueless touched a chord in the culture that was clearly primed and ready to be struck. Preteen and teen girls, some of whom would eventually grow up to share their Clueless love with their own daughters, raced to malls in search of plaid skirts and knee-high socks, surprising higher-ups at major department stores who had not anticipated the hordes of wannabe share shoppers. Almost immediately, Paramount began working with Heckerling to develop a TV show adaptation. Within a year, the movie's soundtrack would sell enough copies to be certified gold. It would eventually reach platinum status. The success of Clueless also would defibrillate the barely breathing high school movie genre, resulting in a flood of teen movies in the late 90s and early 2000s, many of which featured Cher-esque female protagonists, and blatantly targeted the young XX chromosome demographic that had made Clueless such a smash. Career doors began to open wider for almost everyone involved after the movie came out, most notably Silverstone. At the age of 18 and mere weeks after Clueless sent her industry stock into the stratosphere, she inked a reported $10 million deal with Columbia Pictures that made headlines in the trades and elsewhere. Suddenly, it felt like the whole world was making a cameo at the Val party. Coverage of Silverstone went from excessive to inescapable, with stories and photos of her everywhere in Vanity Fair, Time, and New York Magazine, and on the cover of Rolling Stone, where she dressed in all pink and parked her frilly bikinied bottom next to the headline, Ballad of a Teen Queen. Entertainment Weekly name-checked both Austen, whose Emma inspired the Clueless narrative, and Silverstone in its year-end list of the most significant entertainers of 1995, while Vanity Fair's 1996 Hollywood issue featured Heckerling in an Annie Leibovitz photo spread focused on the industry's most influential female filmmakers. Heckerling also won an award for Best Screenplay from the National Society of Film Critics, and was nominated for Best Original Screenplay by the Writers Guild of America. The media credited Clueless for, as New York Times columnist Peggy Orenstein put it, proving there's a market for movies in which girls are in charge of their own fates, active rather than reactive. What's even more remarkable is that 20 years later, Clueless is still as omnipresent in American culture as it was back then. Thanks to its presence on cable, DVD, and streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Instant Video, Clueless is still watched on a regular basis by longtime fans, as well as young people discovering the magic of Murray's freshly shaved head for the first time. Tributes to the movie, in the form of Twitter accounts, BuzzFeed listicles, and startup tech companies that encourage users to dress their bodies just like Cher does in Clueless, are ubiquitous in the digital sphere. Fashion designers and labels continue to riff on the costumes created for the film by Mona May. Are you in a Macy's, H&M, or Urban Outfitters like right now? Stop. Look around. There's probably a sheer shirt, a pleated miniskirt, or some knee-highs in your field of vision that